In today's video, we look at some example models which are interesting because you want to understand whether a model is mechanistic or dynamic or stochastic and so on, and what are the assumptions that go into a model. So to fixate all the ideas that we looked at in the last few videos, let us look at a few interesting example models. Welcome back. Let us just take a closer look at some nice example models and try to understand various aspects of it. The modeling process that we discussed earlier about what is the scope, whether it is a continuous model, empirical model, correlatory model, dynamic model and so on. Now this is a classic very simple model of insulin glucose dynamics. It is a minimal model. What does it model? It just models interstitial insulin and glucose over time and the interactions between the two. It neglects so many other things, right. There is pancreas, there is glucagon, there is very complicated signaling network, some receptors involved, all that is ignored. Right. It is a very simple simplified model of what happens to glucose and insulin. Right. So this is a deterministic model, no stochasticity is considered. It is a closed model, it is a correlative model, it is also somewhat empirical in the sense there is it is not a mechanistic model, right. It is continuous of course because it varies with time, and it is considered as a 2 compartment model. You have one box with glucose, one box with insulin, it is a 2 compartment model and very simple equations, right, just 2 differential equations to explain. And so this is a very simple example. This is kind of what I want you to work on in your assignment, your first assignment, where you want to make a single slide about a particular model. Another example is the Kalman filter, which is till date remains a very popular model for handling noise and so on. So I will not go through the details, but this is another example model which talks about gambler's ruin. So it is a stochastic model that employs some random walks to predict what happens in a game, right. Similarly, a very good example is you can actually model a tennis game, right. So you can have just set up a Markovian process wherein you have every state will be a particular score in the game and you can transit to different states, and similarly you can have a set of states for the match and so on and so forth. So and this is potentially a model. You say that player P wins with probability, player 1 wins with probability P and player 2 wins with probability 1 minus P, and you can actually set up equations and say what is the probability of player 1 winning the match, right. That can be derived based on, so that would be it would be a stochastic model, right, because each time you run it you will get a different set of results, right. Good old Newton's model of motion, right, or the Carnot engine. Zipf's law, this is actually a very interesting law, particularly in the context of what we will study a couple of classes down the line. So this studies word frequencies in English text. So what it finds, what do you see? What do you see here?
Is it a power law?
It is a power law kind of thing, right. So you have the a log plot, it is linear. So for okay, this is the internet, but this does not actually describe Zipf's law. So Zipf's law was originally for word frequencies. So what would you expect if you looked at word frequencies in the English language?
Few words are repeated more often.
You will have few words that are repeated an astronomical number of times, and the rest of the words all have much lower frequencies and so on. So majority of the words will have very low frequencies, and a few words like a, the, prepositions and so on, and some other conjunctions, all of those will have a very high usage. So you end up finding a power law kind of distribution, right, and this is something we will see in biological networks as well as we go on, right? And of course Duckworth-Lewis, right, our favorite model. So essentially there are various ways to characterize these models. So you want to understand whether it is deterministic, stochastic, dynamic and empirical, correlative, mechanistic. All of these things is what you need to think of when you analyze any model. when you want to understand the characteristics of a model. So, this is just a basic recap of the what we did earlier. So, with this we are sort of done with some of the fundamentals of mathematical modeling. So, in the next video let us start looking at how we represent biological networks and something known as SBGN or systems biology graphical notation.